Okay, the primer is all dry, so that's ready to sand. But before I sand it, I'm going to untape this area, cut this out, pop the tailgate, and then go in. That's why I didn't do it in the beginning too, is because I have to put a fine line and then prep around this corner here. So there's minimal tape edge. You don't want to feel any edge there. Okay, this is the area here. I'm going to be putting a fold tape edge. Let me show you what that is. So what this does, it folds the edge so it doesn't stick on the very edge of it. So when we go to put that on right at the edge, it kind of behaves like a flapper almost. It just kind of allows the clear coat to fade in over that line all the way around. So if you don't have that little machine like I have, you can also do it this way. I'll show you. It may look a little tricky, but I just use the bottom of my kneecap and then start a fold like that, and then pull. You've got that little tape edge there. You can make it that way too. Okay. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna sand that down. I'm gonna sand that area down first before I put that on. That's gonna be the finishing area, or the finishing time. I don't want dust getting in that area, so I'm gonna do that spot first, blow it all off, clean it, and then put that fine edge and try to keep the rest of the repair away from that area. So that's what I advise doing also. Or you can just do a hard line, or bring it in here and do a hard tape line, or even in here or back here. But anyway, that's up to you. Okay, if you're going to be doing this on your own, again, I'm not advising it. It's more like an art, and you got to make a lot of mistakes before you get it right, really right. But basically, I'm going to sand this down with 320, the sandpaper I was using earlier. And then over in this area, the old school way is to kind of wet this down. You can buy one of these. It's a gray Scotch-Brite pad. They sell them at Home Depot, AutoZone and stuff. And then wet scuff everything until it's dull. Go easy on the corners. You can end up cutting through the paint where you don't want to paint. I'm only going to paint this area and then clear coat the entire bumper corner. So you want to go easy on your corners. Don't be too aggressive. Now on this DA, actually I told you earlier that I had it for what, 20 some years or something, since I was 15. It's actually this one here, same company. That's why I bought a second one. It's actually, this is the one that's I've had since I was 15, and I'm now 38. So, or I've been having a human experience for the past 38 years, but that's a whole other can of worms to get into. But I'm not going to use this on the side. I'm going to use this. This is 600 paper with a foam back that's soft. These are about $1 a sheet. This is more of a body shop kind of thing that you're doing every day. So it'll cut that factory orange peel down flat. It allows me to lay everything out even flatter. So I'm going to go around this corner up here, just along the edge with the 600 grit. You can also do it with this too. You don't want to curl inside too much. You just want to kind of go on the outer edge of it and then fade it in. So let me go ahead and do that. Okay, so I'm going to continue doing some of that real quick, and it'd be easier if I had a second camera, like a camera person or something, but I'm just out here by myself. Now again, this can all be done by hand. I'm just using this to kind of speed up the process. So we're just scuffing everything down in this area only, then I'm going to tape it all up and then do the rest. If you are using sandpaper, sometimes it's good to put a little bit of an aerator or something to have like a sponge behind it. You go to finish it off. So this is where I'm going to be doing the blend. So I came out here at 600. Again, remember to be careful with these corners. So I'm going to take my gray Scotch-Brite pad and I'm going to lightly scuff it right at the end of where I'm going to be doing the blend. If this is a silver vehicle, you're going to have to make sure you scuff it very lightly across these areas too, because you'll end up seeing where the blend prep is, so you don't want that. Almost anyone can repair a bumper corner. The trick is to get it to where you can't tell it's been repaired by what dealerships and all look for. Certain dirt to paint, tape lines and all. That's why I wanted to put that folded edge. I do that all the time. Once that's done, we're gonna use some Ajax that I put in a bottle, or a Comet. I know that sounds kind of redneckish, but it's the best way I found how to prep the blend. So we're gonna kind of scuff out to here with it and then come back in here. You want to wet it almost like the consistency of toothpaste. Now see, if I have that soft edge along here, what's going to happen is this stuff's going to get all up inside. So because of where I'm stopping the clear coat, I have to do this first. Hopefully it makes sense to you. And all this is doing is scuffing it lightly for the blending clear. So it's scuffing it for the clear coat where I'm blending the color out. Then we've got clear coat and then the blending clear. So it's got small little scratches in there to hold the blending clear. So I'm gonna clean that up with water pretty good. I don't know if you can see it in the camera or not, the photo, but you see how it's dull here and then shiny over here? All of this to the left is going to be dull also, but this is where this is the crucial point here that matters the most, to be able to do the repair with no one telling it's been repaired. Next thing I'm going to do is use like a next thing is going to be like a rubbing alcohol to rub this area down. Again, I'm doing as much as I can in this area because of that little flapper. You don't want anything getting in there at all. Kind of pre-cleaning it. This takes away any armor all or tire shine, waxes, so you don't get a bunch of fish eyes in the paint. If you don't have one of these tape machines, you can use like newspaper or something like that too. Or go to Home Depot and they sell like the thicker paper. And you just have to lay the paper out on the hood of the car or something like that, and then put the piece of tape, that little contraption, it does it for me. But I'm going to rip this in half, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this on the bumper itself, underneath the trunk where it closes, and then tape also on the trunk lid itself. Keep from overspray from happening. So if you look close, the tape isn't right to the edge. It's back a little. It gives me a little bit of room to put that folded edge line there. Again, I'm making a big deal out of this, but the goal that I always have is to try to do the repair where you cannot tell it's been repaired. Also, sometimes overspray will want to go in and blow through and get overspray through here, and also I put a piece of tape back here to kind of seal up. You don't have to do that, but I do it myself. Okay, here's the other one. I put tape on the edge, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to end up taping this off so it kind of seals it like a sandwich almost. Okay, now I've got the tape again, that one that is with the folded edge, and I'm going to put the flapper side, the part that's not sticky, on the edge. This is already cleaned and blown off. You don't want too much tension in the corner. It'll want to lift off on you afterwards. You want to kind of push it down easy, let it go, move it around, but kind of let it go where it wants to go. Don't force it too much. Now it's curved up this way, so I've got to start another one. And again. Again. Okay, just follow that around. Flatten that out a little bit. Good to go. And now we can go ahead and again, this is to prevent overspray from getting inside here. So we'll rip a little hole here in case the sensor starts to complain that there's something in the way. Okay there. So here's our blend area here. Everything's pre-taped, and I'm going to go ahead and start taping it up. And again, you see this joint here? This is something that's a good idea to tape up all the way to keep from overspray finding a loop to go through. Another thing I do is a lot of times I'll take it's like a cleaner or rubbing alcohol. I'll let it drip inside the crack of the bumper. And then down here also, if they armor all their tires, the tape isn't going to want to stick. So I'll wipe down all these little corners first and then tape up everything. I'm going to also do the same thing for these, because sometimes if they're spraying like some type of spray wax or something, when I go to clear coat, it can blow out and cause fish eyes everywhere. It's rare that it happens, but it only takes a couple of seconds to do. All of those cracks and crevices that you submerge with that, you want to blow it out, because otherwise when you go to clear coat high pressure, it's going to blow out into the clear coat. Again, this is another spot that overspray can blow through. Worst case, you can rub it off with a little bit of polish and all, but I prefer not to. If you're taping it up, try not to follow the line so much. You want to go in straight angles. And here where I have to rise up, I rise up earlier and then come across. That way you don't get a bunch of wrinkling up here. Everything you can tape up nice and tight. Also, when we're taping underneath the light, you want to kind of put the tape in. If there's a large gap, it's good. If it's tight, don't go in too far, because then you can't get the tape out. Or you can, you just have to wait a while for the clear coat to dry before you can go in there and monkey with it. Another thing you want to watch out for is if you're putting a lot of pigment up in this area and the taillight has a clear area in it, and you're painting the car, say this color, the blue will get in behind the lens, so it's a good idea to tape up underneath. Again, all of those details, if they ever go to sell this car or trade it in, or a collector, it becomes a collector car for some reason, and someone looks at it, you don't want any of those telltale signs to show. At least I don't. That's why I prefer to work on nicer cars than just fix it and I'm gonna sell it. You know, there's no pride involved there. What you're gonna want to do is tape past. So the taillight's this big, but always overlap. It saves you a lot with overspray, and sometimes dust and all will want to stick to the plastic more so than the paper. So when you go to start painting, it's just better to have more paper around than plastic. And when it comes to these areas here where it's overlapped, you're going to want to tape those up too, because they can hold dust from the sandpaper and all that stuff. So just seal everything. You don't have to, but that's how I do it. And then when it comes to this corner here, when it comes to here, you can just put a straight edge or a folded edge here. If you're really kind of picky, you can put a folded edge on this area, which I'll do for this vehicle. Here it has a mud guard, so I'm going to tape inside, tuck it in real nice. I know it looks like I use a lot of paper, or overkill on paper, but it's a good idea. You don't want to overspray the customer. The more problems you give the customer, the more problems you're going to have. So it takes me another, say, 45 minutes to make everything to where you don't have any issues, but then in turn my life is easier. You know, people call me back to do repairs. Like you reap what you sow kind of thing anyway. Okay, now I'm going to tape up the sensors. Like I said, a lot of times the body shops say we have to pull the sensors off, we have to recalibrate. Maybe they do if they pull the sensors off, but why do you got to take the sensors off? I usually use a brand new razor blade every time I do this. Put a piece of tape and then kind of carve around it. I'll show you a close-up. I just kind of use my fingernail a little bit to push it in. Don't cut it with your fingernail, but just kind of push it in into the corner. So put the tape on first, touch the center, and then around the corner. Okay, so what I do is I just go in with the corner, and I don't really cut all the way around like this. I just kind of slide it in, and it kind of does everything for me. So kind of like cutting a pumpkin. You're not really carving it, you're just, maybe it is carving, you're just pushing into this area. You see, it comes right off. And don't start it in the middle like I just did. I'd start it down on the open end so you can follow through. You're not guessing. I've done it enough where I get pretty accurate on my guesses. Now, it may not look perfect, but what happens is if any overspray gets onto the little rubber here, I can pick it right off with a razor blade. It's a lot faster than trying to pull it off and pull the bumper off and then take all those sensors out. Now, when you're finished with these, when you're scuffing and sanding, it could kind of fray the corners of them, and you may have to pull them out and redo them again with the tape, which is fine. But you don't want to scuff that and paint that if you don't have to. So tape them up first, prep everything. If they're still clean, leave them in there. If they're kind of raunchy on the corners from the sandpaper and all, then go ahead and take them off and redo them. Now this area here, if you're going to be sanding with 320, it will cut right through here and cut into that paint. So I'm going to go easy here, or double tape it. You can do that, or just put I'll show you. I'll put a piece of tape here to show you what I'm talking about, just to keep it protected, and then hit the rest with 600 grit or the scuff pad.